I'm going to come see you, Ms. Guzman. I don't think the FAST program has worked. It's still not leveling the playing field.
Senator Kennedy by WebEx.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I can't see the clock, so if you would let me know when I have 30 seconds left. Ms. Guzman, congratulations. I want to ask you about our tax code first. In 2007, as you probably know, Congress changed the way we tax pass-through entities. I'm talking about LLCs, LLPs, sub-S corporations, partnerships, sole proprietorships. Congress exempted 20% of the income for those pass-through entities from the federal income tax. Was that a good idea, bad idea? What do you think?
Thank you for that, Senator. I would work in partnership with the Office of Advocacy on issues like this to understand some of the research they've done, as well as be the voice of small business. While I don't have a specific opinion on that, I would love to get back to you and talk to you further about it.
Well, are you familiar with it? Tell me how it works.
Well, I'm familiar that there has been some tax benefits for these types of organizations, but I would need to get back to you on that in terms of my as it relates to SBA and the programs. I would basically be the voice of small business, of course, and tax issues, regulation issues. All these are of concern, but I don't have specifics on that.
Well, but I mean, obviously, your job is to help small business women, small business men, and taxes represent a cost of doing business, just like your electricity bill, your insurance bill. Do you think this provision in the law has helped small business, or has it hurt it? Or are you just not familiar with it?
Senator, thank you for flagging it. I'm not as familiar with the research in terms of whether or not it has been effective or beneficial. So, rather than answer without any specific knowledge of a research study, I would rather research that further and get back to you on this issue.
Senator Kennedy, could I interject for 1 minute? I won't take it out of your time, because you're raising a very important point about the tax code impact on small businesses. We don't have jurisdiction over the tax code, but I will be in conversation with Senator Wyden as to whether we can have some opportunity, either a joint hearing, to look at the tax code impact on small businesses, because your point is very well taken. The pass-through, as I understand it, was a rough justice to deal with the C rate reduction, since most small businesses don't use the C rates rather than the corporate rate. They use the individual rate rather than the corporate rate in their taxes. And I think we do need to get more information on this, because my own personal view is that small businesses have not benefited to the same extent that larger companies that use the corporate tax rate from the 2017 tax bill. I just interject on that because I think this is a subject our committee needs to take a greater look at. And I thank you very much for raising it today at this nomination hearing.
Well, I appreciate that, Mr. Chairman. Many of the small businesses in Louisiana are not C corps, which, as you know, has the disadvantage of double taxation. Many of the small businesses in my state are pass-throughs. So this is a very important provision, and I at some point would, since Ms. Guzman is going to be the champion for small business, I'd kind of like to know what her position is on that. I'm going to submit a question in writing if that's appropriate, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Guzman, let me ask you about, are you familiar with small business innovation research grants?
Yes, Senator, I am.
And I assume then you're familiar with small business technology transfer awards.
Correct, yes.
Okay. Are you familiar with the FAST program that we started? FAST is an acronym for a federal and state technology partnership program. Are you familiar with that program?
Yes, Senator, I am.
as I understand, the FAST program was set up to try to level the playing field and make sure that these grants and these awards are more evenly distributed. How has the FAST program worked? How well has it worked, in your opinion?
Thank you for that question, Senator. It is a really critical issue that we ensure that the SBIR, STTR is able to be utilized across the country. There's definitely disproportionate use in certain geographies, and so I know that beyond FAST Grant, there's FAST Grant as well. Agencies that participate in SBIR have extended outreach and assistance programs to try to reach communities who don't traditionally access these programs. And so all of them are priority areas for ensuring access to underserved businesses and underserved small businesses who want to utilize this America's Seed Fund. In terms
well,
of...
Can I interrupt you just a second?
Sure,
because I'm about to run out of time. I hate to interrupt people. I'm going to come see you, Ms. Guzman. I don't think the FAST program has worked. It's still not leveling the playing field, but we'll save that topic for another day. If I could ask you, and I interrupted you because I want to really give you time to answer this question. What's a better way, as a matter of policy, to increase people's wages? A minimum wage increase or an increase in the earned income tax credit?
Senator, I don't have a, I know that, my responsibility will be to take the research and the data and be the voice of small business as well as the small business stories around this issue. I intend to do so if confirmed, and, to evaluate and look at the research from both sides. It's been my practice in California to convene working groups with various organizations with difference of opinion, just so that I can hear and listen to all the opinions across these issues.
Well, yes, ma'am, and I appreciate that. But which, in your opinion, what's a better way to increase wages without impacting business? A minimum wage increase or an earned income tax credit increase?
Senator, I would need to evaluate that. It's similar to my response to you on the previous tax question, that I would need to further, research the matter and share with you, at a different time. So thank you for the question.
How does the earned income tax credit program work?
Well, SBA would, in terms of the, the impact on small businesses, I really honestly could not share with you at this time.
No, just how does the whole program work?
With the earned income tax credit, I mean, businesses are all of these programs are trying to ensure that small businesses are able to, take the tax benefits and credits, that can support their businesses. Again, I can't offer you anything further, sorry. Senator, I know that this is really a critical issue, and I would look forward to partnering with you and your office in the future to discuss this further if confirmed.
Well, it is a critical issue, Ms. Guzman, and I would encourage you to learn more about the earned income tax credit.
I can't hear you guys. I've unmuted myself.
I mean, if we raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour, the Congressional Budget Office says it's going to cost us 1.3 million jobs in the middle of what some of my colleagues say is a recession from the pandemic. An earned income tax credit change, and I'm not advocating it here, I'm trying to understand your position on it, because you're going to have to be a champion for small business. A change in the earned income tax credit, which would also put more hands in low-income workers. If we paid for it with an offset or a pay for in the federal budget, would increase people's income without causing people to be laid off.
Senator Kennedy, your time is pretty well expired.
Okay. Did I go over by a lot, Mr. Chairman?
Well, I took some of your time, so I'm trying to equalize it, but I think you're over by about 2 minutes right now.
Well, I'm sorry. Consider this plane landed.
Thank you very much. And I'll just repeat again, on the tax issues, I really do think we need to weigh in and we need to have a view on how their tax code is affecting small businesses. So I look forward to working with you, Senator Kennedy, on that issue. I serve on the Finance Committee, so I will take that message to the Senate Finance Committee.
And I'm sorry I went over, Mr. Chairman, but I can't see the clock.
Senator Hawley? I'm not sure your mic's on.
How about that?
Better.
There we go. Thank you. Let me just start actually with where Senator Hirono just left off, and I know that Senator Ernst asked you about the affiliation rule as well. So I just wanted to be clear on the answers that you gave to Senator Ernst and now just to Senator Hirono. Mm-hmm. The CARES Act explicitly says in the text of the act that nonprofits are eligible for PPP funds only if they and their affiliate organizations have no more than 500 employees. Now, Planned Parenthood employs approximately 16,000 people across the country, and according to their own financial statements, each and every one of its offices, both regional and national, each one is affiliated. They're all affiliated together, which means that each office is ineligible to receive funds under the text of the Act. So I just want to be clear that I understand your position on this. You will enforce, if confirmed, you will enforce the affiliation rule. Is that correct?
I would implement all the rules and regulations as applies to SBA's programs, and I welcome the opportunity to discuss affiliation and its application in these instances.
Good. And just on Planned Parenthood in particular, can you commit to ensuring that Planned Parenthood affiliates that are affiliated per the CARES language will not receive funding under PPP?
The SBA affiliation rule addresses all of these issues quite extensively, and I'd welcome the opportunity to review that with your office as well as with the SBA staff, if confirmed, to ensure that we are following all the rules and regulations.
Do you regard it as an open question? I mean, this is the Planned Parenthood issue. Do you regard that as an open question, Mrs. Goodsman?
Senator, I would need to dive into the specifics around affiliation and the control. It's about independence and control, and so I would definitely need to dive into the specific case. I couldn't give you a specific opinion about one individual entity at this point.
Let me ask you about a different set of nonprofits, religious nonprofits. After the passage of the CARES Act, my office, we were inundated with requests from churches and other religious nonprofits in my state, which is the state of Missouri, saying that they had been told by some local and regional SBA offices that they were not eligible to participate in the PPP. This despite very clear language in the CARES Act that makes religious nonprofits, 501c3s, eligible for assistance, again, provided they have fewer than 500 employees. This eligibility was explicitly preserved in the December relief bill that Congress passed. And my question to you is, can you commit to applying that law and ensuring that churches and other religious nonprofits continue to be eligible to receive PPP funding?
Yes, Senator, in this case as well, I would commit to applying the rules and regulations as defined by Congress and implementing them at the SBA.
Very good. And you can commit today to ensuring that churches and religious nonprofits receive equitable treatment on the same level playing field as every other nonprofit under the rules. Is that fair to say?
I would want to ensure that all of our district offices and our resource partners have the communication and understanding of the programs so that they could equitably distribute these funds.
Good, thank you. The Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program, you and I visited about this yesterday. I expressed my concern based on the number of folks in Missouri who had come to me who were eligible under the terms of the program, but who had a terrible time receiving funding. And then, of course, as I said to you yesterday, to see the October OIG report that suggested that program, the EIDL program, was rife with waste, fraud, and abuse is particularly frustrating given the meritorious applicants who either had significant delays or weren't able to get the funding. So I know you're aware of the issue. Let me just ask you what steps you will take to ensure the EIDL's program integrity and make sure that legitimate small businesses aren't getting crowded out by fraud and abuse.
I think that, thank you, Senator, for that question, and I did enjoy the conversation about that as we've seen it in California as well. But the controls and oversight are really critical in these programs so we can ensure that the right businesses who are suffering get these funds. And so I would prioritize implementation of the relief funding across the board to ensure that that's the case.
Very good. Thank you very much for your time. Congratulations on your nomination. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Hirono, iWebEx.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I too can't see the clock, so you need to let me know when I have 30 seconds left. Ms. Goodman, it's a pleasure to see you again, and thank you very much for the chance to talk with you a few days ago. I asked these two fundamental questions of every nominee who comes before any of the committees on which I sit, and while you answered a similar question to the committee questionnaire, I'm going to ask you these questions. Since you became a legal adult, have you ever made unwanted requests for sexual favors or committed any verbal or physical harassment or assault of a sexual nature?
No, I have not, Senator.
Have you ever faced discipline or entered into a settlement related to this kind of conduct?
No, I have not.
When I had a chance to talk with you, you made a commitment to making sure that underserved small businesses in particular would have adequate access, maybe more access at this point, to the $284 billion for PPP that Congress recently approved. Do you have any specific kinds of things that you would do to make sure that minority businesses and businesses with fewer than 10 employees, for example, would have access to PPP?
Thank you, Senator, for that question. It is a priority of the administration to ensure that our underserved businesses are able to access resources, and I believe that we can better deploy the community-based resources, our resource partners, as well as our field offices, to ensure that there's strong communication, strong awareness, strong training, so that more businesses can access this program equitably.
And also, when we had a chat, I mentioned that there are a lot of small businesses who have a really hard time with all of the paperwork and requirements, so they should be as understandable as possible. And so I hope you will take a look at that. I have a question regarding 8A, the 8A program, and I think you have a familiarity with it because we advocated for an extension, additional year for businesses to participate in 8A programs, and you had advocated for this extension. So the 8A programs support, for example, Native businesses, Native Hawaiian businesses, Alaska Natives businesses. So I'd like you to reinforce that you have a commitment to making sure that the outreach to 8A programs and support for the 8A program remains a commitment on your part.
Thank you, Senator Hirono. I would definitely commit to ensuring that all of our programs are utilized fully, including the 8A program, and that outreach is conducted extensively.
And sometimes the 8A participants need a little bit more time, more flexibility to meet various requirements. So I hope that those 8A businesses that may have difficulty meeting their business activity targets for commercial non-federal revenues, that they would be given adequate time to meet those requirements.
Yes, thank you, Senator. I would look closely at that program and make sure that it's aligned with the situation that so many of these contractors are facing right now during COVID and on an ongoing basis, so that they can fully leverage the program and grow to be successful firms.
So since last year, the Senate Republicans have been working to prevent Planned Parenthood local chapters from receiving PPP loans. They've tried to disqualify these chapters from receiving loans based on basically an ideological perspective. And you signed a letter to SBA arguing that local chapters should be eligible for these loans. And I hear continuing concerns about how SBA tried to apply its affiliate rules to disqualify certain nonprofit organizations from participating in PPE. So I hope that you will commit to ensuring a fair, neutral, and consistent application of program rules for similarly situated entities and not seek to disqualify any organizations based on ideological reasons.
Senator, I would, if confirmed, I would work hard to implement the program as per the rules and regulations outlined.
You mentioned that you would look to your local resource partners, and we had a chat about that. And it's good to know that you intend to fully use your local resource partners to get the word out to especially minority-owned and other small businesses as to the availability of PPP loans. I think my time is up. I know I see a clock up there now.
Yes, your time is
Barely
just.
see it. Okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.